I've always been interested in politics, and politics and economics are pretty much the same kind of thing. So even from a young age, I started following politics, and I knew about communism. I've always been intrigued by the Soviet Union and what are these various ideologies, and I wanted to understand that. Then I went to the army, and we were told that we were fighting communism, as an example. But I didn't really understand communism, and that's why later in life I actually studied communism. I know the history was that South Africa was given a mandate by the United Nations to administer the then Southwest Africa. And I thought, okay, that's all good and well, but do the people of Southwest Africa actually want us to administer them? And my view was, either we take the place, make it part of South Africa, annex Southwest Africa, or we ask the people if they really want us to be there. But this sort of in-between thing where we administer territory on behalf of people and they don't really want us to be there, that in-between thing really didn't sit well with me. And I asked that, and I also asked questions about why are we here? But immediately when people heard that I was asking questions about whether we should be in Southwest Africa, they assumed that I must be a spy or something. And I can remember I was called by the commandant then. He was the regional chief in that area where I was. And he started asking me questions, political questions. So what I believe in, did I say this? Do you think we should be here? Are you part of the Communist Party? Have you been approached? That sort of question. And I told him, no, I'm just curious. I want to know. And I think I convinced him. And he let me go, and I think really much happened to that. But I got into trouble, kind of, for asking questions. And quite often, even today, I get in trouble quite often simply by asking questions. Fortunately for us, at the end of the 1980s, communism collapsed, and everybody could see that communism doesn't work. And that came at a lucky time for South Africa, I would say. We were transitioning politically at a time when communism collapsed, and obviously communism or socialism became much less of an obvious next step for South Africa, and we transitioned into something else, more middle of the road, politically and economically kind of thing. And in fact, when the ANC took over in 1994, they became far more, let's call it, capitalist in a way than what the previous nationalist government was. They privatized a lot of stuff, and they reduced the role of the state. And I mean, you couldn't actually believe it. And that's part of the reason why the South African economy really took off after 1994. There were some other reasons as well. But I think we were lucky. We were really, really lucky in that communism collapsed. If it only collapsed in 2000, as an example, I think South Africa would have found itself in a much more difficult situation and position. Of course, being white, being Afrikaans, that was a very difficult time because all of a sudden Afrikaans, whites, men, we lost a lot of political power. I can remember working at the South African Reserve Bank, and it was Afrikaans mostly. And then when I went to the financial markets or the economy, the big business was mostly under control of basically English men. So me as an Afrikaner, I have to go into boardrooms and I had to speak English. I had to write in English, which was quite a thing for me as well. It would be a major transition for me as well. And I was also concerned about the communists taking over, being the South African Communist Party and the ANC and the tripartite alliance with COSATU and all that. And we thought it's going to be like another basket case socialist country. And it turned out not to be. Of course, it was difficult. It was a political transition. A lot of things changed for everybody. There was a lot of excitement, and soon I realized, but this is not going to be so bad. This can work out. And looking at the kind of policies, I thought, well, this is what we need. I am excited about the new South Africa. And I think today we are at the beginning of a new transition. And I learned a very important lesson in 1994, and that is to trust democracy. And again, I trust democracy today.